All eyes right now, the world's eyes, quite literally, are on a nuclear power plant in southern Ukraine. It is on fire, and you can see the orange flames and the billowing smoke after heavy shelling by Russian forces. The video you just saw there was taken what is today, meaning Thursday evening in Ukraine. It is now Friday morning in Ukraine. We understand the fire is under control. You're watching NewsNation special coverage of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. We are now into day 9 for those overseas. I'm Leland Vittert.
And I'm Ruta Shabazi. This is happening north of Crimea. The fire is under control now, but Russian troops are still reportedly blocking off the power plant, which is the largest in all of Europe. And within just the last hour, the International Atomic Energy Agency tweeting that it is in 24/7 response mode, as Ashley just said, due to this serious situation. As of now, radiation levels appear to be normal. New surveillance video showing the moment Russian artillery hit the plant, causing the fire. We know that 3 of the building's 5 stories are damaged. The mayor of the city says Russian troops initially weren't letting firefighters in to put out the fire. He also says there are reports of injuries. The Ukrainian president reacting to the news in a video on Twitter, he said if the plant blew up, it could be the end for everyone in Europe. We know he is in contact with President Biden and British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Johnson also just calling for an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council. Control of this plant is vital, of course, because it generates 1/4 of the country's power. So, Leland, what would a Russian victory mean for Ukraine?
A Russian victory here in Endohar, which is where the nuclear power plant we're talking about is significant because of this. You come up from Crimea as the Russians did. You are, well, turn that on and back off. Okay, come up from Crimea here. This is where they are right now. This is the Dnieper River that comes all the way from Kyiv all the way down to the Black Sea. Once you take the power plant, you control the river. That's why there was such a serious firefight. That's why the Russians were willing to shell a nuclear power plant and obviously create the potential for the disaster there was. This is not the only nuclear power plant in Ukraine. There's one over here. There's obviously the Chernobyl site up by Kyiv that there was a fight over that the Russians now control. There's a couple out here to the west. So far, this is the story of 2 theaters of war. I say 2 because the east and southern theater for the Russians have now merged. They came up here from Crimea. They now have a land bridge all the way over into Russia so they can freely transit this and bring resupplies down here. That allows them to push out to the west and attack Odessa. This is the Black Sea down here. There's video out of Odessa right now of a number of ships, Russian ships here, and landing craft ready to make a beach assault on Odessa. That's the southern front right now. Now we go to the northern front. This is where the attack on Kyiv goes. Southern map shows you a little bit more in terms of what the Russians have control of. This is Mariupol, which is a town in 2014 the Russians tried to take. It remained in Ukrainian control. And now there's a pretty fierce firefight. We talked about that land bridge. The Russians are just going around it like this. Once they control all this, and they already have Kherson, which was the first real Ukrainian city to fall, they'll control the entire southern part of Ukraine. That chokes off a huge amount of Ukraine for commerce because this is the only place that you have a port in Ukraine. The rest of the country is landlocked. Now we'll go to the north. Switch here. This is where, as you could almost imagine, it is for all the marbles. This is the northern part of Ukraine, right around the capital. We talked about Chernobyl, just across the Belarusian border. We always heard about this big convoy that is stuck. There's actually 2 convoys. One coming here from the east. This is from proper Russia here. The other coming from Belarus down south. What's very interesting is that so far, this convoy here of Russian tanks and armor have not made where they were supposed to make on day 1 of the invasion. That would have been Wednesday night of last week. They still haven't made it. Where were they going? Antonov Airport here outside of Ukraine. Once you control the airport, you can fly in enough armor, you can fly in enough paratroopers, equipment, ammunition, and supplies to lay siege to the city of Kyiv. That's why it's so important. Take this off for a second. This convoy has come down. Remember, on the first night of the invasion, Antonov Airport, there was a large paradrop of Russian paratroopers with attack helicopters. The Ukrainians beat them off, and the armor never arrived down. So this has always been a site for the Ukrainians that was extraordinarily important. Just in the past couple of hours, there was a firefight outside Hostomel between Ukrainian special forces and the very front line of this convoy that had finally made it down to the south and this far. This is about 15 or 20 miles into Kyiv. I'm not sure if we have the video of the Ukrainians taking out the Russians, but it is an impressive sight to see what the Russian special forces did. Now, next map, we're going to look at the rest of the country real quick. Ruta Bay, we're going to show you where the supply lines are. We don't have the bigger map. Here it is. Magic. So, Ruta Bay, what to watch for and what we're going to be talking about for the rest of the night, essentially, is that once the Russians come here and here, the key is to try and cut off all of Kyiv. Right now, the Ukrainians control this area here. Why is that so important? This is the center of government. It's the center of the resistance. The only way to resupply it is all the way across the western part of the country. This is Poland and Slovakia, where all of the aid from the free world is coming to the Ukrainians. As soon as the Russians are able to fight their way all the way south and around, that's when they can lay siege to Kyiv in the same way they did here in the south at the nuclear power plant and had done in Kherson as well.
It helps to lay it out like that and understand geopolitically why it's so important in the way that they approached the country. Leland, thank you. Okay, so President Biden says he has been updated by Ukrainian President Zelensky about the situation unfolding at the power plant. Kelly Meyer is joining us now live from Washington. And Kelly, what have you learned?
Well, that's right, Ruta Bay. It was confirmed to NewsNation tonight that the two talked shortly after the fire broke out at the nuclear power plant. President Biden got an update on the fire, and both he and Zelensky are calling on Russia to stop its military activities in the area so firefighters and emergency responders can get to the site. I'm told by an administration official that the latest information shows no indications of elevated levels of radiation, but that the White House is monitoring that closely. The president also talked tonight with the administration nuclear security officials for an update on the situation. And then we're told the president continues to be briefed regularly. I want to add that Biden's energy secretary says the department has activated its nuclear incident response team and is also monitoring the events along with the Department of Defense. I checked in with the Pentagon. They don't have any updates beyond what the Energy Department and the National Security Council are telling us. But the Energy Secretary says the plant's reactors are protected by robust containment structures and are being safely shut down. And as you mentioned, the International Atomic Energy Agency says tonight the fire has not affected essential equipment, including 6 reactors. And Ukrainian President Zelensky is calling on Europe to act, saying, quote, only urgent action by Europe can stop the Russian troops. Do not allow the death of Europe from a catastrophic or catastrophe at a nuclear power station.
So, Kelly, do we know if there's any additional support from the White House? And also, I know you spoke with your sources at the Pentagon today. What kind of military assistance are we sending as Russian forces continue to move in tonight?
We know the U.S. continues to send weapons to the Ukrainians and that they are getting into the hands of Ukrainian soldiers, but the Pentagon is keeping the exact shopping list close to its chest. They say they don't want to give that away to the Russians, and it appears they don't want to be seen as adding fuel to the conflict. But the administration is walking a fine line here between helping Ukraine defend itself while at the same time not wanting to see the situation escalate further. Ruta Bay.
All right, Kelly Meyer in Washington tonight. Thank you.
Excellent point there by Kelly. We bring in Kevin Carroll, formerly of the Central Intelligence Agency, served a number of combat tours in Afghanistan, joining us now from D.C. Kevin, just from a strategic standpoint, we understand why the nuclear power plant is so important for the Russians to take, but in a convoluted way, the headline of fire at nuclear power plant as Russian shells it does not play well for Vladimir Putin in any way.
It does not. The reality is that he's committed a war crime. Any use of force in war has to discriminate between combatants and non-combatants. It needs to be proportional in the amount of force that's used against a target. There are very specific prohibitions on attacks that'll cause permanent environmental damage, as this could. So he's branded himself a war criminal. There's command responsibility down the chain of command for it. It's an evil act that he did, and it's going to have serious strategic and long-term legal ramifications for the Russians.
It does seem, just in the 1 week since the invasion, day by day by day, the backs of and the spines of the Europeans have been stiffening. You can just see what's happened with the Germans, with the French, with the English, as they continue to send more and more equipment. Kelly Meyer had some great points in terms of the equipment that was being sent down, both the Javelin anti-tank missiles and the Stinger ground-to-air missiles to take on the Russians. You've been on the other side of this, delivering these weapons. Explain how they get from the Polish border, where sort of that is the end of the road for NATO, out to the Ukrainian troops.
I suspect, I don't know, that there's a transfer point on the border and that they're taken in by convoy along the route that you showed. Certainly it'll be a problem if the airhead is closed. That'll take away one of the ways you could get them in. But there's a long and open border there that's backing up on a friendly NATO country. So there's no excuse not to continue to get all the arms possible, all the arms necessary to the Ukrainians.
Yeah, there is this race against time, whereas in other situations it probably didn't exist until the Russians are able to cut down the supply lines. What do you make of how quickly the information out of the nuclear power plant came? It seems as though for being in the middle of a war and a nuclear power plant being under attack, the amount of intelligence the United States had and the ability of the Ukrainian government to talk about it and to get real-time information was shockingly good.
Well, it's been fascinating to me to see the way that intelligence and the way intelligence is presented to policymakers and the news is presented to the world has changed over the past 20 years ago. Many of the things that are on your broadcast every night would have been only available to policymakers through signals and imagery intelligence, classified intercepts and overhead reconnaissance 20 years ago. Now, as we're looking at on the screen right now, somebody with an iPhone can post that and everybody in the world can see it at the same time. Really, it's changed the face of warfare. And it's going to continue to do so as leaders are forced to react to things in real time.
Yeah, you think about what happened at Chernobyl, just in the north, back in the 1980s. The Russians covered it up, then the Soviets covered it up for a long time. No one really knew what was happening. This we actually saw a live stream of it coming out. Obviously, there's been this constant statement of there is no U.S. involvement in Ukraine. We're not going to commit U.S. forces. How closely aligned are we to believe that members of your old organization, the CIA, are probably with President Zelensky in terms of being able to advise and share intelligence with?
Well, I certainly hope they are. I mean, the CIA collects information for the president, and it's also the hidden hand of the president when necessary. So I would hope that the Central Intelligence Agency is there. I would hope that Special Operations Forces are there as well. And as Putin ramps up his war crimes in Ukraine, here, again, using basically a field expedient radiological weapon, it was probably a mistake for President Biden to say there's no circumstances under which we would come in. If he starts using chemical weapons, if he uses a tactical nuclear weapon, if he besieges the city of Kiev and kills hundreds of thousands of civilians, are we just going to stand idly by? I don't think we should have left that option off the table of getting involved. I think we should have kept Putin guessing and nervous.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, and there's been a lot of people, including yourself, who've questioned why did we telegraph what the red lines were rather than let the Russians keep guessing. We saw the Pentagon playing a little bit coyer in Kelly Meyer's report, saying we're not going to telegraph what the Ukrainian shopping list is in terms of what supplies they're running low on. Kevin, it was great to see you. Thanks for staying up late with us.